Poor girl only brings $5 to the school cafeteria. But a young billionaire sees everything and does something unexpected. Noah had never set foot in a public school in his life. At 30, the heir to the largest supermarket chain in the country, he was familiar with board meetings, financial reports, and charity dinners where people talked about helping others while sipping $1,000 wine. But being here, in the courtyard of Lincoln Public School, carrying boxes of food he had chosen himself, this was new. The idea had come out of nowhere. Maybe it was the boredom of the same routines, or the strange feeling that his life had been on autopilot for years. When he woke up that Tuesday morning, something inside him said, "Do something. Something real." And there he was. The principal, a middle-aged woman with a tired but genuine smile, walked with him as they unloaded the boxes. "Mr. Patterson, this is so generous. The children will be so happy. We've been trying to get donations like this for weeks." Noah just nodded, a bit awkwardly. Generous. This amount of food barely made a dent in his family's budget. It was the equivalent of one of the bottles of wine his father served at business dinners, but to her it seemed like the world. "May I take a look around the school?" he asked, more on impulse than by design. "Of course, it's lunchtime right now. Would you like to see the cafeteria?" He nodded and followed her down the narrow hallways. The smell was different from anything he knew. A mix of cheap cleaning supplies, simple food, and something he couldn't quite identify. Maybe it was the smell of kids being kids, without filters or pretense. The cafeteria was a small space with blue plastic tables and mismatched chairs. About 40 children were eating and talking loudly, creating a noise that bordered on chaos but had a certain life to it. Noah stood in the corner observing. It was like watching a documentary about a parallel world. Kids sharing fries without a second thought, others casually trading pieces of fruit, some laughing so hard they nearly fell out of their chairs. No one was pretending to be someone else. It was just real. That's when he saw her. A little girl, with brown hair tied in a slightly crooked ponytail, her uniform clean but clearly faded. She was in line, clutching a few coins in her small hand. She was 5 years old at most and seemed focused on an important mission. Noah didn't know why, but something made him pay attention to her specifically. Maybe it was the serious way she looked at the coins. The girl reached the counter where a middle-aged employee served the children with mechanical efficiency. "Ma'am," the girl said, holding out her little hand with the coins, "can I just buy half a sandwich?" The employee stopped what she was doing and looked at her with an expression that mixed impatience with something that might have been pity. "We only sell whole ones." The girl looked at the coins in her hand, then at the sandwich, then back at the coins. Noah could see the gears turning in her little head, trying to solve a cruel math problem, how to turn a couple of dollars into a full meal. "But I only have $5, she said quietly, still holding out her hand with stubborn hope. The employee sighed, clearly torn between the rules and compassion. "Look, sweetie, you either buy the whole sandwich or—" "I'll get it, I'll pay for everything," Noah heard himself say, already walking toward the counter. The employee looked at him, surprised. The girl turned to him with big, curious, honey-colored eyes that seemed to see more than a 5-year-old should. "I want a full meal for her," Noah said, taking out his wallet. "Whatever your best is." "Oh, you don't have to, sir," the employee tried to protest, but Noah was already handing her the money. "Yes, I do." The girl kept looking at him, as if trying to figure out if he was real or had appeared by magic. There was something in her expression, a mix of surprise, gratitude, and a strange wisdom for her age. "Thank you," she said, still a bit shy, but with a natural politeness. "You're welcome, little one." The employee prepared a plate with a sandwich, cheese as ham, and a red apple. The girl took it all carefully, as if she were carrying a treasure. And then it happened. She smiled. It wasn't one of those forced smiles Noah was used to seeing at his family's social events. It wasn't a calculated or self-serving smile. It was a small, genuine, powerful smile. A smile that came from some pure place Noah had forgotten existed. For a few seconds, he was completely undone inside. "What's your name?" he asked, crouching down to her level. To Emma. Noah, it's a pleasure to meet you, Emma. Thank you, Noah. And his name came out of her mouth with careful pronunciation, as if it was something important. And there was the smile again. Noah felt a strange sensation in his chest, as if something had moved in there after years of being still. Emma went to sit at a table with other children, and Noah stood there a little lost. The principal approached him. That was very kind. Emma is a special girl. She always shares everything she has, even when it's not much. He just nodded, still watching Emma divide the apple with a boy who seemed to have no lunch at all. She cut the fruit into 4 pieces and handed out 3, keeping only 1 for herself. The rest of the visit was a blur. Noah talked to some teachers, saw a few classrooms with scratched-up desks, and heard about the school's needs. But his mind kept going back to that moment. The girl's smile, the simplicity of the gesture, the strange feeling of having done something that truly mattered. As he was leaving, he passed by the cafeteria again. Emma was finishing her meal, chatting excitedly with her friends. She saw him and waved, still smiling. Noah waved back and left, carrying something different inside his chest. In the car, driving back to his world of offices, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she held the coins so carefully, the dignity with which she asked for half a sandwich, the smile that came afterward like an unexpected gift. He arrived home, a mansion in an upscale neighborhood that had always seemed normal, and suddenly everything felt too big, too empty, too quiet. He had dinner alone at the 10-seat table, checked emails that didn't matter, and watched part of a movie that didn't hold his attention, but Emma was still there in his head, her smile, her simplicity, her truth, the natural way she shared the fruit. The next morning, Noah woke up with a strange feeling. He had dreamed of the school, the noise of the cafeteria, of Emma sharing the apple. In the dream, he was sitting at the table with them, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was part of something. He had breakfast looking out the window, thinking about the day ahead. A meeting with the marketing department at 9, lunch with investors at noon, a call with the regional managers at 3. The usual routine. But something was different. Something was pulling him in the opposite direction, like a magnetic force he couldn't ignore. Without planning, without telling anyone, Noah cancelled his first meeting and drove back to Lincoln Public School. He didn't quite know why. He just knew he had to go back. Noah parked his car in the same spot as yesterday and sat for a few minutes, trying to understand what he was doing there. He had cancelled an important meeting about international expansion, ignored 3 urgent calls from the office, and driven 40 minutes in heavy traffic to return to a school he barely knew. For a 5-year-old girl he had met the day before. It didn't make sense. Absolutely none of it made sense. But there he was, carrying a bag with enough lunch for a whole week. He had stopped at an expensive bakery on the way and bought sandwiches, fresh fruit, natural juice, imported chocolate cookies, everything a child could want and more. The principal greeted him at the entrance with the same surprised and genuinely grateful smile as yesterday. "Mr. Patterson, what a wonderful and unexpected surprise. The children were talking about you all day yesterday. I hope you don't mind if I stay a little longer today. I brought some things for Emma." "Of course. She's at recess right now. Would you like me to call her?" "No, I'll find her." Noah headed toward the playground, carrying the bag and a strange feeling in his stomach. He didn't know what to expect. Maybe Emma wouldn't even remember him. Maybe she was just a polite kid yesterday and wouldn't even look his way today. The playground was full of children running, shouting, and playing in small groups. It was that organized, energetic chaos that only schools can have. Noah stood at the entrance, searching for brown hair in a slightly messy ponytail. He found her sitting alone at a worn-out picnic table, drawing something in an old, crumpled notebook. She was concentrating, biting her tongue slightly as she made careful, deliberate strokes on the paper. Noah approached slowly, almost afraid to interrupt. "Hi, Emma." She looked up, and her eyes lit up immediately, as if he were exactly who she had been waiting to see. "Noah, you came back." And then she did something that caught him completely off guard and left him speechless. She stood up quickly and ran to hug his legs tightly, as if they were dear old friends who hadn't seen each in a long time. "Of course I came back," he said, a little breathless from the naturalness of the gesture. "I brought you some things." Emma let go and looked at the bag with curiosity, but without the eagerness he expected to see. It was more like she was happy for his presence than interested in what he had brought. "Want to sit with me? I'm drawing our school." "Our school?" "Yeah," she said, already pulling him by the hand toward the table. "You come here now, so it's our school too." Noah sat next to her on the wooden bench, trying to process how a 5-year-old could make such simple statements sound so right. "What did you bring?" Emma asked, but without stopping her drawing. "Lunch. I thought you might be hungry." "I'm always hungry," she said with the brutal honesty of children. "Mommy says it's because I'm growing." Noah carefully opened the bag and began to take things out one by one. A ham and cheese sandwich on a baguette, a shiny red apple, natural orange juice, Belgian chocolate cookies. Emma stopped drawing completely and looked at everything with wide eyes and an expression of pure admiration. "Is this all for me?" "All of it." She picked up the sandwich with extreme care and took a large, satisfied bite. She closed her eyes for a long second, as if savoring something truly special and rare. "Is it good?" "Very." "Thank you." They sat in silence for a few minutes, Emma eating and Noah watching the other children play. It was strange to be there, in the middle of this world that operated with completely different rules than his. "Why did you come back?" Emma asked suddenly. The question caught Noah completely off guard and left him somewhat speechless. It was too direct, too honest, too real. How could he explain something complex that he himself couldn't understand? "I don't know," he said finally. "I guess I wanted to see how you were doing." Emma nodded as if that made perfect sense. "Mommy always says that when we like someone, we want to know if they're okay. Your mom sounds very smart." "She is. She knows a lot of things." Emma took a sip of juice. "Chai, but sometimes she gets sad." "Why?" Emma shrugged, as if she were telling a normal story. "Mommy lost her job because she took care of me when I was sick." The sentence came out so simply, so naturally and unassumingly, that Noah needed a few long seconds to fully process the immense weight of what she had said. There was no self-pity in her voice, no anger, no resentment. It was just a hard fact of life. "You were sick?" "Uh-huh, with a high fever. Mommy couldn't leave me alone, so she didn't go to work. Then her boss got mad and said she didn't have to come back anymore." Noah felt something twist in his stomach. The simplicity with which Emma told the story made it all the more cruel. A mother who lost her job for taking care of her sick daughter, and a child who accepted this as a natural part of life. How long ago was that? "A few weeks. Mommy is looking for a new job, but it's hard." Emma finished the sandwich and picked up the apple. "She stays up at night doing math on paper. I think the numbers don't add up, right?" Noah remained silent, trying to absorb the information. This little girl knew more about financial hardship than many adults he knew. "And you? Don't you get worried?" Emma thought for a moment, chewing on the apple. "Sometimes, especially when it rains really hard and the ceiling drips. Then I get scared the house will fall down." The ceiling drips. "In my room, Mommy puts a pan out to catch the water. It makes noise all night. Plink, plink, plink." She imitated the sound, laughing. "Sometimes I pretend it's music." Noah was beginning to understand why he had come back. It wasn't just Emma's smile or her gratitude for the lunch, it was this. Her ability to turn real problems into almost poetic details of life. "And when it thunders, are you scared?" "A lot," Emma admitted. "I hide under the bed and count until the thunder stops. Mommy says it's just noise, but it's a very loud noise." "Does your mom stay with you?" "She tries, but sometimes she's busy trying to stop the leaks. Our house has a lot of holes when it rains." The naturalness with which she spoke about this was affecting Noah in a way he couldn't explain. There was no drama, no plea for help. It was just a child talking about her life. "Emma, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you happy?" She stopped eating and looked at him with those big, serious eyes. "I think so. Mommy gives me a kiss every night and tells me she loves me. I have friends at school. And today you came to see me." She smiled. "So yes, I'm happy." And there it was again. That smile that had dismantled Noah the day before. Small, true, strong. "Do you have kids?" Emma asked. "No." "Why?" Another all too direct question. Noah laughed, a bit awkwardly. "I never found someone special, and I guess I never really stopped to think about it." "You'd be a cool dad." "How do you know?" "Because you bought lunch for a girl you didn't know, and you came back the next day just to see if she was okay." Her logic was simple and spot on. Noah found himself smiling for the first time in days. "You're very smart for a 5-year-old. Mommy always says that. She says I was born paying attention." They talked until the bell rang. Emma told him about the teacher who always praised her drawings, about the boy in her class who shared his lunch with her when there was extra, about how she liked math because the numbers always worked out right. When the children started heading back to their classrooms, Emma put the cookies in her backpack. "For later," she explained. "Mommy will be happy." "Emma, can I ask you one more thing?" "You can." "Would you mind if I came here more often?" She looked at him as if it were the most obvious question in the world. "Of course not." "I liked talking to you. Then maybe I'll stop by tomorrow." "Okay, I'll draw a picture of you this afternoon." And she ran to get in line with her class, waving at him with the same smile as always. Noah stood in the empty playground, trying to understand what had just happened. In less than 2 hours, a 5-year-old child had managed to affect him more than any business conversation in recent years. Her sincerity was like a punch to the gut. There were no filters, no ulterior motives. Emma spoke about life as it was. Difficult at times, beautiful at others, but always real. Driving back to the office, Noah couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. A mother who lost her job for taking care of her sick daughter, a ceiling that dripped at night, fear of thunder, bills that didn't add up, and yet Emma was happy, genuinely happy. He arrived at the office late for the second important meeting of the day. His personal assistant was waiting at the door with a huge pile of urgent papers and a visibly worried expression. "Mr. Patterson, the investors have been waiting for 40 minutes. Cancel it," Noah said, walking straight past him. "Sir? Cancel the meeting. Reschedule for tomorrow." He entered his office and closed the door, leaving the assistant outside with a look of someone who no longer understood anything. Noah sat in the leather chair that cost more than most people earn in a month and looked out the window at the city below. Everything suddenly seemed smaller, less important. He thought of Emma talking about the sound of the rain on the roof as if it were music. He thought of the naturalness with which she shared her food. He thought of her smile when she saw him arrive. Something was changing inside him. He didn't know what it was yet, but he felt it. And for the first time in a long time, Noah was curious to see where this would lead. The next day, he was back at the school right on time. And the day after that, and the next, and the one after that. Always with a different and special snack. Always with the same strange and inexplicable feeling in his chest when he saw Emma run happily to greet him. They talked about absolutely everything. Emma told him about her interesting classes, her dear friends, the colorful dreams she had at night. Noah found out that she wanted to be a teacher when she grew up, that her favorite color was blue because it was the color of the sky on the happiest days, that she knew all the words to an old song her mother sang to her to help her sleep. And slowly, without consciously realizing it, Noah began to change profoundly. He started paying close attention to things he had never noticed before. The generous way Emma shared everything she had, the unique way she found beauty in the most unlikely and unexpected places, the brutal and refreshing honesty with which she spoke about real life. He was learning something fundamental that he had never imagined he urgently needed to learn. And Emma, without knowing any of this, was becoming the most important and transformative teacher he had ever had in his life. Noah had spent 3 weeks visiting Emma at school. 3 weeks of shared lunches, conversations on the playground, and a growing sense that this little girl was changing something fundamental inside him. That Thursday, Emma was quieter than usual. She played with her food instead of eating, and her eyes seemed lost somewhere far away. "Everything okay?" Noah asked, sitting next to her at their usual recess table. Mommy's worried, Emma said, poking at her sandwich with little interest. She thinks I don't see it, but I do. Worried about what? Emma shrugged with that childlike naturalness that hasn't yet learned to hide feelings. Money, work, grown-up stuff. She finally took a bite of her sandwich. She looks at papers on the kitchen table and sighs a lot. Noah felt a tightness in his chest. Over these weeks, he had heard fragments of Emma's life, the dripping ceiling, the bills that didn't add up, the mother looking for a job, but always filtered through her innocence, transformed into almost poetic stories about life. Now seeing the real worry in the girl's eyes, the situation felt more concrete, more urgent. Emma, he said, choosing his words carefully, do you think your mum would let me meet her? Maybe. I could help you guys out. Emma stopped chewing and looked at him with those big, attentive eyes. You want to meet my mommy? I do. If she wants to meet me too. Emma thought for a moment, as if weighing something important. She bit her lower lip, a habit Noah had noticed she had when she was concentrating. She's very nice. You'll like her. A pause, and I think she'll like you too. Why do you think so? Because you're nice to me. And Mommy always says that people who are nice to kids are really good people. The simplicity of Emma's logic always surprised Noah. No complications, no hidden motives, just raw truth. So I can meet her. You can. Want to come over today after school? Noah nodded, feeling a strange mix of nervousness and anticipation. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew he had to do this. The bell rang and Emma ran to get in line, waving at him with her usual smile. Noah stood in the empty playground, thinking about what he had just committed to, meeting the mother, offering help, stepping fully into their lives. When school ended, Emma came running out with her backpack on and an excited expression. Ready? Let's go meet Mommy. They walked a few blocks through the neighborhood. Noah observed the small houses, the narrow streets, the quiet rhythm of a neighborhood that lived at a different pace from his world of skyscrapers and imported cars. It was a place where people knew each other, where kids played in the street without fear. Emma chatted away, telling him about math class, about the drawing she had made for her mom, about the cat that always slept on the corner of their street. That's it, she said, pointing to a small two-story house painted light blue. Mommy painted it last year. She said blue is the color of hope. The house was simple, but there was something welcoming about it. The paint was a little faded by time and weather, but the windows were clean and there were pots with simple flowers on the small porch. You could see the care in every detail, from the clean doormat to the neat white curtains. Emma opened the door with her own key, an act of independence that surprised Noah. Mommy, I'm home and I brought a visitor, a female voice answered from somewhere in the house. A visitor? Emma, you know you have to tell me before... The voice stopped as a young woman appeared in the living room. Noah guessed she was around 25. Dark brown hair tied back in a practical ponytail, tired but kind green eyes, simple but well-kept clothes. There was a natural, unadorned beauty about her. She looked at Noah with surprise and the natural caution of a single mother. Mommy, this is Noah. Remember I told you about him? He's my friend from school. Lauren, Noah assumed that was her name, extended her hand politely but maintained a respectful distance. I'm Lauren. Nice to meet you. Noah Patterson. The pleasure is all mine. There was a moment of awkward silence. Emma, oblivious to the tension, dropped her backpack and went straight to the kitchen. I'll get some water. Do you guys want some? I'll have some, Noah said. Lauren gestured toward the small living room sofa. Please, have a seat. The room was small but meticulously tidy. Simple furniture, but everything in its place. A few pictures of Emma on the walls in cheap but well-chosen frames, books stacked on a makeshift shelf of bricks and wood, a colorful, handmade-looking blanket on the sofa. Noah sat down, and Lauren stood for a few seconds before deciding to sit in the armchair opposite him, maintaining a polite distance. Emma talks a lot about you, she said, with a mix of gratitude and concern in her voice. The lunches, the conversations, you've been very kind to her. She's a special girl, smart, affectionate. She is. Lauren smiled for the first time, and Noah could see where Emma had inherited that genuine smile. Sometimes the things she says surprise me. Emma returned with 3 glasses of water and sat on the floor between them, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I can make coffee, Lauren offered. If you'd like. I'd love some. As Lauren headed to the kitchen, Emma whispered to Noah, she makes the best coffee in the world. She learned from my grandma. The coffee arrived a few minutes later, served in small, simple cups, but with careful ceremony. Lauren sat down again, this time a little more relaxed. Emma tells me you work in an office, she said, taking a sip of coffee. Yes, I handle the administrative side of a company. Noah kept his answer vague, not wanting to sound boastful. She nodded, without asking more questions. There was no invasive curiosity or interest in the details of his financial life. It was just polite conversation. And you? Noah asked. Emma mentioned you're looking for work. Lauren's face closed off slightly. It wasn't hostility, but a natural defense of someone who has learned to protect her own dignity. I am. I used to work as a cashier, but... She glanced at Emma, who was drawing on the floor. I had to take care of Emma when she got sick. I ended up losing my job. I'm sorry to hear that. It happens. Lauren shrugged with a dignity that impressed Noah. I'm looking for something new, something will turn up. They talked for almost an hour. Few words, a lot of mutual respect. Lauren said little about herself, but Noah could sense the strength behind her simplicity. There was no self-pity, no pleas for help, just a woman doing what needed to be done to take care of her daughter. Emma showed him some drawings, talked about school, and asked her mother to sing the song Noah had mentioned. Lauren sang quietly, a little embarrassed, but her voice was sweet and in tune. Mommy has a beautiful voice, Emma said proudly. She really does, Noah agreed, and Lauren blushed slightly. The conversation flowed naturally. Lauren told him how Emma had learned to read on her own at age 4, about her daughter's antics, about how she always shared everything she had with her friends. She has too generous a heart sometimes, Lauren said, looking at Emma with affection. Last week she gave her entire lunch to a boy who forgot his at home, and she went hungry. She pretended she wasn't. I only found out later. Noah watched the interaction between mother and daughter. There was a palpable love there, a connection that went beyond words. Emma felt safe, loved, despite all the difficulties they faced. As Noah was getting ready to leave, Lauren walked him to the door. Thank you for being so kind to Emma, she said. It means a lot to her. To both of us? She's easy to like. She is, Lauren smiled again. Sometimes I wonder where she gets so much joy, considering... She didn't finish the sentence, but Noah understood. I think she gets it from you, he said. Lauren looked at him, surprised. From me? The way you take care of her, how you've turned this house into a home, how you face difficulties without losing your dignity. Emma learned to be strong by watching you. Lauren's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away quickly. Thank you, she said simply, and there was a world of meaning in that word. Noah said goodbye and walked back to his car, carrying a strange feeling in his chest. The entire drive, he couldn't stop thinking about the house, the conversation, the simple coffee served with care. He got home, and the mansion seemed even emptier than usual. Dinner alone at the big table, the TV on low volume, the heavy silence of the empty rooms. But his mind was in the small house with blue walls, in the way Lauren had served coffee with simple ceremony, in the way Emma had sat on the floor between them as if Noah were part of the family, in the honest, unpretentious conversation. For the first time in his life, Noah felt he had found something he didn't know he was looking for, a truth he had never lived. The truth of a home where love was more important than luxury, where mutual care was worth more than any bank account, where simplicity wasn't a lack, but a conscious choice to value what truly mattered. And Noah knew, with a strange and comforting certainty, that he wanted to be a part of that. The visits became frequent. What had started as a casual meeting to get to know Emma's mother turned into a routine that Noah didn't even realize had begun. The first week after meeting Lauren, he showed up twice. The second, 3 times. By the third, he was going there almost every day after work. There was no planning, no formal invitation. It was just natural. Noah always arrived with something: fruit from the farmer's market, fresh bread, sometimes just empty-handed with a smile. Lauren stopped being surprised by his presence and started automatically preparing coffee for 3. Emma was the one who made everything easier. She didn't ask questions about why Noah was always there. To her, he was simply part of the place now, like the kitchen table or the living room sofa. One Tuesday afternoon, Noah found Emma on the living room floor, surrounded by crayons and sheets of paper. "What are you drawing today?" he asked, sitting on the rug next to her. "Our family," Emma said without looking up from the paper. Noah looked at the drawing. 3 stick figures, a woman with long hair, a little girl, and a tall man, all holding hands in front of a blue house. "Can I help?" "You can. You can make the clouds. I don't know how to make nice clouds." Noah picked up the light blue crayon and began to draw clouds on the paper. He hadn't done something so simple in years. He had forgotten how relaxing it was to think of nothing but making a circle look like a cloud. "Like this?" he asked, showing her what he had done. "Perfect. You're really good at this." Lauren appeared at the kitchen doorway, drying her hands on a dish towel. "Emma, don't forget to put the crayons away later." "I will, Mommy." "Noah is helping me." Lauren smiled and went back to the kitchen. A few minutes later, she called out, "Noah, want to learn how to peel a potato properly?" It was a strange question, but Noah got up and went to the kitchen. Lauren was at the sink, a mountain of potatoes beside her. "You peel them all wrong," she said, laughing. "Emma told me you tried to help her draw a potato last week and couldn't explain what they look like without the skin." "It's true," Noah admitted. "I've never had to peel a potato in my life." "Then it's time you learned." Lauren handed him a small knife and a potato. "Like this," she demonstrated, making precise movements. "Not too deep, or you waste it. Not too shallow, or the peel won't come off." Noah tried to imitate her, but the potato ended up with holes and uneven patches. "No," Lauren laughed, taking his hand to guide the knife. "Let me show you." Her hands were small and rough from work, but warm. Noah focused on the movement of the knife, trying to ignore how strange and comfortable it felt at the same time. "Now you do it," she said, letting go of his hand. They stayed in the kitchen for an hour, peeling potatoes and talking. Lauren told him how she had learned to cook by watching her grandmother, about the early days with baby Emma, when she didn't know if she was doing everything wrong. "There were nights she cried so much that I cried right along with her," Lauren said, peeling another potato. "I had no idea what I was doing. I read books, asked other moms at the clinic, but every baby is different. You managed on your own." "I had to. I had no choice." There was a quiet strength in her voice that always impressed Noah. It wasn't bitterness nor self-pity. It was just the observation of someone who did what needed to be done. Emma came running into the kitchen. "I finished the drawing. Want to see?" They went to the living room, and Emma showed them the final result. The drawing was colorful, with a blue sky full of clouds, flowers in the yard, and even a smiling sun in the corner. "It's beautiful," Lauren said. "Noah made the most beautiful clouds in the world," Emma said proudly. Noah looked at the drawing and felt a strange sensation in his chest. It had been so long since he had felt useful for something that truly mattered. The weeks passed like this. Noah helping Emma with her homework, teaching her to make paper airplanes, listening to the stories she made up about the characters in her drawings, Lauren cooking while they played, sometimes joining them on the rug to do puzzles or play checkers. It was a simple routine, but there was something in it that Noah had never experienced before. A sense of belonging that didn't depend on money or status. It was just being there. One evening, after helping Emma brush her teeth and pick out her clothes for the next day, Noah was getting ready to leave when she pulled on his sleeve. "Noah, can I tell you something?" "Of course." Emma looked at him with those serious eyes that sometimes made Noah forget she was only 5 years old. "I like it when you come over. "It feels warmer here." The sentence came out so simply, so truly, that Noah was speechless for a few seconds. "Warmer?" "Yeah. Before you came, it was just me and Mommy. It was nice, but it was kind of too quiet. Now you're here and it's better." Noah knelt down to her level. "I like being here too." "So you'll keep coming?" "If you guys want me to." Emma smiled and hugged him tightly. "We do." After Emma went to sleep, Noah and Lauren sat in the living room drinking tea. It was such a normal domestic scene that it seemed surreal to Noah. There was no agenda, no specific goal. It was just two people sharing the end of the day. "She was telling the truth," Lauren said suddenly. "It feels warmer when you're here." Noah looked at her, surprised by her honesty. "For me too, it's strange, but I feel at home here." "It's not strange. This house is small, but there's room for those who want to stay." They talked a bit more about simple things. Lauren told him about the new job she'd gotten at a bookstore, about how well Emma was doing in school, about her plans to fix the roof before winter. It was in these conversations that Noah understood what he had been missing his whole life. It wasn't luxury or adventure. It was this: someone to share the small details of life with, someone who cared if he had eaten properly at lunch, if the traffic was heavy, if he had slept well. A week later, on a rainy afternoon, Emma was playing with dolls on the rug while Noah and Lauren drank coffee at the kitchen table. The rain tapped against the windows, and the house was wrapped in that cozy silence that only rainy days can create. It was then that Noah asked the question that had been on his mind for weeks. What about her father? Lauren stopped with her cup halfway to her mouth. For a moment, Noah thought he had crossed a line. "I'm sorry," he said. "You don't have to—" "No, it's okay." Lauren put the cup down on the table and looked at Emma playing in the living room. "He left when he found out I was pregnant. Never came back." The answer came with a serenity that surprised Noah. There was no anger, no resentment. It was the voice of someone who had grown tired of waiting for something that was never going to happen. "Did you try to contact him?" "At first, yes. I sent messages. I called. When Emma was born, I tried again." Lauren shrugged. "He made it very clear he didn't want to be a part of this." Emma laughed at something she was doing with her dolls, and Lauren smiled automatically at the sound. "It was for the best," she continued. "Emma doesn't know rejection. To her, family is just me and her, simple." Noah was silent, processing the information. He tried to imagine a man who could abandon Emma before even meeting her, and couldn't understand it. "It must have been hard," he finally said. Lauren looked at him for a long moment before answering. "I was 19. No family nearby. No money. I did everything alone. I cried entire nights while pregnant, scared. There were days I didn't know if I would eat or pay the gas bill. But I would look at the ultrasound, and I kept going." Her voice was laden with a restrained emotion that made Noah understand she rarely spoke about this. "There were days I would sit on the bathroom floor and cry until I couldn't anymore. So I thought about giving up, about giving her up for adoption, about doing anything that would be easier than trying on my own." Emma appeared at the kitchen door, holding a doll. "Mommy, Bella is hungry. Can I give her a cookie?" "You can, sweetie, but just one, okay?" Emma nodded and went back to the living room. Lauren waited for her to leave before continuing. "But then she was born, and she was so small, so dependent on me. I would look at her and think, okay, Lauren, this is for real now. You are everything this little girl has in the world." Lauren picked up her coffee cup again, but didn't drink. She just held it, as if she needed something to do with her hands. The first few months were the hardest. "I didn't sleep. I barely had money for diapers. I lived on government food stamps. But Emma, she was such a good baby. Cried very little, smiled a lot. It was as if she understood we were in this together." Noah listened in silence, touched by a story that no one saw, but that he knew many women lived. Women who made impossible choices every day, who raised children with love and willpower, who turned desperate situations into homes full of affection. "You're an amazing mother," he said. "I do what I can. Some days are better than others. Emma is lucky to have you." Lauren smiled for the first time since the conversation began. I'm the one who's lucky to have her. She taught me to be stronger than I ever knew I could be. They sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the rain and the sounds of Emma playing. It was a comfortable silence, full of mutual understanding. Thank you, Lauren said suddenly. For what? For asking, for listening. Most people avoid this kind of conversation. It's part of your story. And Emma's story. It is, but it doesn't define us. Noah nodded, completely understanding what she meant. Lauren's past had shaped who she was, but it didn't limit who she could become. When the rain stopped and Noah got ready to leave, Emma ran to say goodbye. Will you come back tomorrow? She asked, as she always did. I will. Promise? I promise. And as he drove home, Noah thought about his conversation with Lauren, about her strength, her story, the way she had turned an impossible situation into a happy family. He thought of Emma playing on the rug, unaware of the sacrifices her mother had made for her. He thought of the small house that always smelled of fresh coffee and care. And he understood with a clarity that surprised him that this was what he had been missing his whole life. It wasn't just a house or a family. It was the feeling of being needed, of being part of something bigger than himself, of having people who waited for him, who were happy when he arrived, who missed him when he wasn't there. It was the feeling of having a place to stay. The late afternoon light streamed through the windows of the blue house with that golden glow that made everything feel cozier. Noah had arrived an hour ago, after a day of meetings that seemed endless. The only thing that kept him focused through all the presentations and reports was knowing he was coming here afterward. Lauren was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and the smell of home-cooked food filled the house. It was something simple, rice, beans, chicken, but there was a quality to that smell that Noah had never experienced in the expensive meals at the restaurants he frequented. Emma was sitting at the living room table, surrounded by school books and a concentrated expression that made her eyebrows furrow slightly. "Noah," she called out, without looking up from her notebook. "Can you help me with my homework?" "Of course. What is it?" "Math. The teacher told us to do these problems, but I can't figure them out." Noah approached and looked over her shoulder. They were simple addition and subtraction problems, but for a 5-year-old, they represented real challenges. "Can I sit with you?" Emma nodded and made room on her chair. Noah pulled up another chair to sit next to her, but Emma shook her head. "No, sit on the floor with me. It's more fun that way." Without hesitation, Noah sat on the floor next to the low table where Emma had spread her books. He hadn't sat on the floor in months. He had forgotten how different the world looked from that perspective, smaller, closer, more accessible. "What's the first one?" he asked. 3 plus Fortman, Emma said, pointing to the paper. "I know it's 7 too, but I don't know how to explain how I know." Noah smiled. It was exactly the kind of problem a child would face, intuitively knowing the right answer, but not being able to explain the process. "Want me to show you a way to be sure?" Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Look here," Noah said, picking up her colored pencils. 3 pencils, see? Now add 4 more. He gathered 4 more pencils. "How many are there now?" Emma counted slowly, touching each pencil with her finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. "That's it. Now you know that 3 plus 4 is 7 because you counted." Emma beamed, as if she had discovered a secret of the universe. "Can I do the next one by myself?" "You can." Noah watched as Emma solved the next problem using the pencil method. There was something mesmerizing about her concentration, the way she lightly bit her tongue when she was thinking, the smile that appeared when she got the right answer. 9 minus 5, she muttered, setting out 9 pencils and then taking 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 left. Perfect. They worked together for 20 minutes, Noah patiently explaining each problem, Emma absorbing everything with the thirst for knowledge that only children possess. There was no rush, no pressure. It was just an adult and a child discovering numbers together on the living room floor. When they finished the math homework, Emma carefully put her books in her backpack. "Thanks for helping me," she said. "You explained better than the teacher. You're welcome. You're very smart." Can I play now?" "Of course." Emma ran to get her toys while Noah remained sitting on the floor, stretching his legs. It was strange how comfortable he felt there, in a position that any of his acquaintances would consider improper for a man of his standing. Emma returned with a box of crayons and a stack of paper. "Want to draw with me?" "I'd love to." She sat on the floor next to him and spread the papers between them. "What are we going to draw today?" "A park," Emma said decisively. "Yeah, with trees and swings and lots of kids playing. Good idea." They leaned over the papers, each working on their part of the drawing. Emma was surprisingly detailed for her age. She drew every leaf on the trees, every rope on the swings, each child in different colored clothes. Noah focused on the sky, drawing the clouds he had learned to make during those afternoons in the blue house. There was a meditative quality to it, a simplicity that calmed his mind in a way no business meeting ever could. "Done," Emma said after an hour, holding up her drawing. "What do you think?" Noah looked at the paper. It was a park full of life, with details only a child would notice. A dog chasing a ball, a mother pushing a stroller, a tree with a bird's nest on a branch. "It's amazing. You're very talented. And your sky is beautiful too." Emma took his paper and admired the clouds. "You're the best cloud drawer in the world." The sentence came out with such conviction, such genuine joy, that Noah felt something stir in his chest. He looked at Emma, messy brown hair, cheeks flushed from laughter, eyes shining with the simple happiness of an afternoon well spent, and was overcome by an emotion he couldn't name. "Emma," he said, almost whispering, "I think about being a father someday." The words came out on their own, as if they had been waiting months to be said. Emma looked at him with that seriousness that sometimes took hold of her. "You'd be a very good dad," she said with the absolute certainty of children. "How do you know?" "Because you have the patience to teach math. And you make beautiful clouds. And you always listen to me when I talk." She thought for a moment. "And you like to sit on the floor." Noah laughed, but there were tears in his eyes. "Why is it important to like sitting on the floor?" "Because kids are on the floor." "If you don't like being on the floor, how are you going to play with your kids?" Her logic was simple and irrefutable. Noah realized that, in all those weeks, he had learned more about fatherhood sitting on the floor with Emma than from any conversation or book he could have read. Lauren appeared at the kitchen door, drying her hands on her apron. "Dinner's almost ready." "Emma, have you put your toys away?" "I'll put them away now," Emma said, starting to gather the crayons. Noah helped her, collecting the papers and organizing them into a neat pile. "Can I take my drawing to school tomorrow?" Emma asked. "Of course. Your teacher will love it." "And can I tell her you helped me?" "You can." Emma smiled and ran to her room to put the toys away. Noah stayed there, still sitting on the floor, looking at the space where she had been just seconds before. Lauren came over and sat on the sofa behind him. "She loves it when you help with her homework," she said. "She talks about it for the rest of the week. I like it too. It's relaxing. You're good with her. It's natural." Noah turned to look at Lauren. "Sometimes I forget I'm not." He stopped, not knowing how to finish the sentence. "That you're not what?" Lauren asked gently. "That I'm not her father." Lauren was silent for a moment. "You don't have to be her father to be important to her," she finally said. "There are many kinds of families, Noah. Not all of them have a name." That night, as he drove home, Noah thought about Lauren's words. There are many kinds of families. Not all of them have a name. He thought about how Emma had run to hug his legs when he arrived, how she had asked for help with her homework, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, how Lauren automatically made coffee for 3 now. He thought about how complete he felt in that small house, sitting on the floor teaching math, drawing clouds, being called the best cloud drawer in the world by a 5-year-old girl, and he understood that Lauren was right. In that moment, on that afternoon of drawings and homework, he was already being more than a visitor. He was being family, and that didn't need a name to be real. It was one of those Tuesday nights that had become precious to Noah. Emma was already asleep. and he and Lauren were sharing the kitchen table with 2 cups of tea and the tranquility of people who don't need to fill silences with unnecessary words. Lauren stirred her tea distractedly, looking out the window where the streetlights cast soft shadows on the wall. There was something different about her that night, a thoughtful quietness that Noah had learned to recognize. "Did you get to talk to your supervisor today?" he asked, referring to the new job at the bookstore Lauren had started a few weeks earlier. "Yes, she said I can increase my hours if I want, 4 more hours a week." "That's good." "It is." Lauren took a sip of tea. "The pay is still low, but it's better than my last job." Noah nodded, waiting. He had learned that Lauren talked about important things at her own pace, and that pushing only made her shut down. "Do you know where I used to work?" she asked suddenly. "Emma mentioned you were a cashier, but she didn't tell me where." Lauren looked at him for a moment as if deciding something. "I worked as a cashier at Fresh Market, but when Emma got sick, I missed 3 days. When I came back, I was fired." The words came out simply, without drama, as Lauren always spoke about life's difficulties, but to Noah, they were like a punch to the gut. He stopped with his cup halfway to his mouth, processing what he had heard. Fresh Market. The name echoed in his head with frightening clarity. "Lauren," he said slowly, "Fresh Market belongs to my family." There was a moment of absolute silence in the kitchen. Noah expected to see surprise on her face, shock, maybe even anger. Instead, Lauren just looked at him with that serene maturity that always impressed him. "I know," she said simply. "You know, I found out a few weeks ago. I saw your last name on a letter that fell out of your wallet." Lauren took another sip of tea, as if they were talking about the weather. "Patterson, like the owner of the chain." Noah was stunned, not just by the revelation, but by her calmness. "And you didn't say anything." "What was I going to say? You had nothing to do with what happened to me." But Noah felt as if he had. Every story Lauren had told about financial struggles, every time Emma mentioned being scared when her mother stayed up doing bills, every moment of hardship they had faced, it was all connected to a decision made by someone in his family's company. "Tell me exactly what happened," Noah said, his voice more serious than Lauren was used to hearing. Lauren looked at him for a moment, as if assessing whether he really wanted to know. "Emma had a very high fever, 104. I took her to the hospital, and the doctor said I couldn't leave her alone for the next few days. She was very weak. She needed constant care." Noah listened in silence, already feeling the weight of what was to come. "I called work on Monday, explained the situation. On Tuesday I called again, on Wednesday too. Emma was still sick, but she was getting better. I went back to work on Thursday. And then, the manager called me in as soon as I arrived. He said 3 consecutive absences was an automatic dismissal, that it was in the contract rules. He didn't even ask about Emma, didn't even want to see the doctor's note I had brought." Lauren said all this with her usual neutrality, but Noah could see the old pain behind the words. "I tried to explain that it was a medical emergency, that Emma is little, that I had no one to leave her with, but he said a rule is a rule." "Who was the manager?" "An older man. Grey hair, I don't remember his name." Noah knew all the managers in the chain. From the description, it was probably Robert Chen, manager of one of the downtown stores for over 10 years. "And after that?" "After that, I packed my things and left. I had a little money saved, so the first few weeks were difficult." Lauren glanced toward the room where Emma was sleeping. "But we managed." The simplicity with which she summed up weeks of hardship made something twist in Noah's stomach. He thought of all the times he had sat in meetings discussing human resources policies as if they were just numbers on a spreadsheet. "Lauren, that was wrong, completely wrong," she shrugged. "It happens. It wasn't personal." "But it was personal. An employee asking to take care of her sick daughter shouldn't be treated like that. The company has rules. The rules were wrong." Noah stood up from his chair, agitated. "A mother taking care of a sick child isn't an unexcused absence. It's parental responsibility." Lauren watched him move around the kitchen but said nothing. "How old were you when this happened?" 24. Emma was 4. Noah did the math quickly. It had been a year. A year that Lauren and Emma had faced financial difficulties because of a cruel policy from the company he helped run. "I'm going to fix this," he said, stopping in front of her. "Noah? No. I'm going to fix it. It was wrong, and I'm going to fix it." Lauren looked at him for a long moment. "You don't have to do anything for me. I didn't tell you this so you would help me. I know, but I'm going to help anyway." "Why?" The question caught Noah by surprise. He could give several answers. Because it was the right thing to do, because the company policy was wrong, because Lauren deserved justice. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than that. "So because you're important to me," he finally said. "Because Emma shouldn't have gone hungry because of a stupid rule, because you shouldn't have been punished for being a good mother." Lauren was silent for a moment. "And how are you going to fix it?" "First, I'm going to find out exactly what happened. Then I'm going to change the policies so this doesn't happen to anyone else. And," he hesitated for a second, "I'm going to offer you your job back if you want it." "I don't want my job back." The quick response surprised Noah. "You don't?" "I'm happy at the bookstore. I like what I do there. The pay is lower, but the environment is better." Lauren smiled faintly. "Besides, it would be weird for you to be my boss after all this." Noah laughed despite the seriousness of the moment. "Yeah, it would be weird." They sat in silence for a few minutes, processing the conversation. Lauren finished her tea and took the cups to the sink. "Are you sure you want to get into this?" she asked, her back to him. "Your family might not like it. My family will have to understand that some things are more important than profit." Lauren turned to look at him. "You've changed a lot since you started coming here. For the better. Definitely for the better." Noah moved closer to her. "Lauren, I need you to know that this doesn't change anything between us. I'm not going to help you because I feel guilty. I'm going to help you because it's the right thing to do. I know. And it doesn't change how I feel about you and Emma." Lauren looked him directly in the eyes. "How do you feel about us, Noah?" The question hung in the kitchen air. Noah knew the answer, but he also knew that once he said it, there would be no going back. "I feel like you're my family," he said simply. Lauren smiled, not the polite smile she gave to strangers, but the genuine smile she reserved for important moments. "So you'll fix this not for us, but because it's who you've chosen to be?" Noah nodded. "Exactly." And for the first time since he had discovered the truth, he felt at peace with what he had to do. Noah didn't sleep well all week. Since the conversation with Lauren about Fresh Market, he couldn't get the injustice of what had happened out of his head. Every time he watched Emma play or helped Lauren with something around the house, he thought about how they had struggled because of a cruel policy from his family's company. On Friday morning, he walked into the Fresh Market headquarters determined to resolve this once and for all. The 20-story building had always been a symbol of success for Noah. Now, riding the elevator up to his father's office on the top floor, he felt different, as if he were seeing everything with new eyes. Margaret, his father's secretary for 15 years, smiled when she saw him. "Good morning, Mr. Noah. Your father is in a meeting with the regional directors, but he should be done in a few minutes. I need to speak with him, and with a few managers too. Something urgent. Very urgent." Margaret noticed the serious tone in his voice and made a few calls. 20 minutes later, Noah was sitting in a conference room with his father, Richard Patterson, the head of human resources, James Miller, and 2 regional managers. "What's so important that it couldn't wait until Monday?" asked Richard, a 58-year-old man who built the Fresh Market empire from scratch and had no patience for unscheduled meetings. Noah took a deep breath. He had mentally rehearsed this conversation all week, but now that he was here, it seemed harder than expected. "I need to talk about our policies regarding medical leave and excused absences." James Miller, a middle-aged man with a perpetually bored expression, rolled his eyes. "Noah, our HR policy is one of the strictest in the industry. We can't go easy on employees." "Go easy?" Noah looked at him with an expression that made Miller sit up straight. "Is that what you call a mother taking care of her sick daughter?" "It depends on the circumstances." "Then let me tell you about a specific circumstance." Noah leaned forward. An employee of 4 years, never missed a day, 4-year-old daughter with 104-degree fever, 3 days of medical leave to care for the child, fired when she returned. A heavy silence fell over the room. Richard frowned. Which store? Downtown. Manager Robert Chen. Oh, I remember that case, said one of the regional managers. Yeah, the employee didn't follow the proper protocol. What protocol? Noah's voice was getting harsher. Leaving a 4-year-old child with a fever alone. Noah, Richard tried to intervene. You can't question every managerial decision. I can and I will when that decision is inhumane. Noah stood up. She was punished for taking care of her daughter. This cannot continue. James Miller let out a sarcastic laugh. And what do you suggest? That we give unlimited vacation to everyone who claims to have a sick kid? I suggest we treat our employees like human beings, not like numbers on a spreadsheet. This is business, Noah, Richard said, and not a charity. And who said that being human and doing business are mutually exclusive? Noah looked around the table, seeing the skeptical expressions on the faces of men he had known for years. They were smart, successful people, but there was something about them that bothered him now, a coldness he hadn't noticed before. Do you have children? He asked suddenly. The question caught everyone by surprise. Of course we do, Miller said. And if one of your children got sick today, would you come to work? That's different. Why? Because you're executives and she was a cashier. Is a parent's love for their child worth less depending on their salary? Richard sighed. Noah, what are you getting at? I want to rehire Lauren Hayes with a fair salary, job security and respect, and I want to implement new policies to protect single parents across the entire chain. The silence returned to the room. This time, more tense. You know this employee? Miller asked, with an insinuating tone. I do. And that doesn't change the fact that she was treated unfairly. Noah, Richard leaned forward, you can't use your position in the company to solve personal problems. This isn't a personal problem, it's a moral one. Moral? Miller nearly guffawed. Since when does morality pay the bills? Noah stared at him. Since always. You're the ones who've forgotten that. The tension in the room was palpable. Noah knew he was crossing a line, but he no longer cared. What policies, exactly, do you want to implement? Asked one of the regional managers, trying to be practical. Paid leave for parents caring for sick children, on-site daycare for employees with young children, flexible hours for single mothers, a policy of no termination for family emergencies. That will cost a fortune, Miller said, and it will save a fortune in employee turnover, lawsuits, and a bad reputation. Richard was quiet, studying his son with an expression Noah couldn't decipher. And if I say no? He finally asked. Max, then I'll implement these policies in my division of the company. And when the results show that happy employees are more productive employees, you'll have to explain to the shareholders why the other divisions are falling behind. It was a veiled threat, but everyone understood. Noah had a significant stake in the company and the power to make unilateral changes in his area. Miller shook his head. This is blackmail. This is business, Noah said, using his father's words. I'm just being smarter than you. Richard stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. After a few minutes, he turned around. You've changed, Noah. For the better. I don't know yet. Richard returned to the table. But you're determined. I'll give you that. So? The woman doesn't want her job back. How do you know? Because you just said you know her. If she wanted to come back, she would have already talked to you about it. Noah realized his father was right. Lauren had made it clear she was happy at the bookstore. Then we implement the policies to protect other employees in the same situation. And the precedent this will set, Miller asked, everyone will start using a sick kid as an excuse. So we create protocols, doctor's notes, a limit on days, follow-ups, but with humanity, not cruelty. Richard was silent for a long moment. Dad, you have a written proposal. I will by Monday. And a budget. That too. And what if this goes wrong? If productivity drops? If costs skyrocket? Noah looked directly into his father's eyes, then it's my fault. But if it works, if our company becomes a benchmark for the humane treatment of employees, if we can attract and retain the best talent because we're known for taking care of our people, then you'll have to admit that humanity and profit aren't enemies. Richard nodded slowly. Monday, 8 in the morning. You present your full proposal. If it makes financial sense, we'll implement a pilot program in 3 stores. And if it works, we expand it to the entire chain. Noah felt a wave of relief and determination at the same time. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You'll have to prove every penny spent. I will. As Noah left the room, he knew he had changed something fundamental in the company's dynamics, and more importantly, he knew he had taken the first step to ensure no employee went through what Lauren had. It wasn't just for Lauren and Emma. It was for all the families who needed someone to remember that behind every employee was a real person, with real children, with real problems, and that taking care of those people wasn't charity. It was the right thing to do. 3 weeks had passed since the tense meeting at the Fresh Market office. 3 weeks of hard work, detailed presentations, and spreadsheets that Noah created and revised, until he could prove that treating employees with humanity was not only morally right, but also financially smart. The pilot project had been approved. 5 stores in the chain would implement the new policies to support single parents. And more importantly, Noah had achieved something he hadn't even expected, a special position for Lauren if she wanted it. That Thursday afternoon, he drove to the Blue House carrying more than the fruit and cake he usually brought. On the passenger seat, a manila envelope contained the proposal that had taken weeks to be developed and approved. He parked in front of the house and sat in the car for a few minutes, mentally rehearsing what he was going to say. He didn't want Lauren to feel pressured or as if she were receiving charity. This was justice, pure and simple. Emma opened the door before he even knocked, as she always did when she heard the sound of his car. Noah, did you bring cake? I did. And a few other things. What things? You'll see. Where's your mum? In the kitchen, she's making soup. It smells really good. Noah followed Emma into the kitchen, where Lauren was stirring a large pot on the stove. The smell really was good. It was one of those home-cooked smells that made the whole house feel more welcoming. Hi, Lauren said, looking over her shoulder. You're early today. I left work early. I had something important to take care of. Lauren turned off the stove and turned to him, noticing something different in his tone of voice. Everything okay? More than okay. Noah placed the cake on the table and held up the envelope. So can I talk to you? Emma was climbing onto a chair to get a better look at the cake, but Lauren distracted her. Emma, want to go play for a little bit while I talk to Noah? We'll have cake later. Can I have a little piece now? You can. Emma cut a small piece of cake and ran off to the living room. Lauren and Noah were left alone in the kitchen. What is this? Lauren asked, looking at the envelope. Noah took a deep breath. Remember I said I was going to fix what happened to you at Fresh Market? I remember, but Noah, I already told you. I know you don't want to go back there, and this isn't that. He handed her the envelope. It's something different. Lauren hesitated for a moment before taking the envelope. She opened it slowly and took out the papers inside. Noah watched her face as she read, seeing gradual surprise give way to something between disbelief and emotion. What is this? She asked, still reading. Your position, readjusted, with full benefits, and more security. Lauren looked up from the papers. Employee Wellness Coordinator. It's a new position we created. You would be responsible for implementing and supervising the new support policies for working families in all the stores in the chain, Noah. The salary is 3 times what you earned as a cashier. Full health insurance for you and Emma. On-site daycare for her when you need it. Flexible hours. And most importantly, he paused, you would be helping other families avoid what you went through. Lauren was silent for a long moment, rereading the papers. Is this real? Completely real. You don't have to decide now, but I accept. The answer came so quickly it surprised them both. "Are you sure?" Lauren carefully folded the papers and put them back in the envelope. "I'm sure." She looked at him with a silent gratitude that said more than any words could. "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me. You're going to work hard for this." "I know, and I want to work hard." "Work." "I want to help other people." Emma appeared at the kitchen door with chocolate on her mouth. "Can I have more cake?" "You can," Lauren said, still processing what had just happened. "In fact, I think today is a day to celebrate." "Celebrate what?" Emma asked. "Mommy got a new job," Noah said. "Better than the one at the bookstore." "Much better," Lauren said, picking Emma up in her arms. That night, as Emma played on the living room rug and Lauren prepared things to start her new job on Monday, Noah realized how much everything had changed. Not just Lauren's job, but everything. The first change was obvious: financial security. Within 2 weeks, Lauren bought a new backpack for Emma, a pink one with unicorn designs that the girl had been asking for months. Emma took the backpack everywhere for the first few days, too proud to put it down. "Look," she told Noah, showing him all the pockets and zippers. "There's a spot for pencils, for an eraser, for a snack, for everything." The snack. That was the change that affected Noah the most. Emma never had to ask for half a sandwich again. Noah still picked her up from school sometimes, and he always walked by the cafeteria. He saw Emma in line with her own coins, now enough to buy a full lunch. He saw her choosing between a sandwich and a pastry, between juice and soda, with the naturalness of a child who no longer had to do cruel math with insufficient coins. One afternoon, he was waiting for Emma to get out of school when the principal approached him. "Mr. Patterson, may I speak with you?" "Of course." "Emma is different. More light, more smiley." "I don't know what's changed at home, but it's doing her good." Noah smiled. "Things have gotten a little better." "That's good. She's a special girl. She deserves all the happiness in the world." And it was true. Emma was lighter. She laughed louder, ran more freely, slept more peacefully. It was as if an invisible weight had been lifted from her small shoulders. Lauren was different too. She worked with a peace in her eyes that Noah had never seen before. It wasn't just the better salary or the stability. It was knowing that her work had purpose, that she was making a difference in the lives of other families. "Today I helped a mother who was having trouble with daycare," Lauren told him one of those evenings, when the three of them had dinner together. "We managed to arrange flexible hours for her to drop off and pick up her son." She cried with relief. "It must feel good to know you're helping," Noah said. "It's the best part of the job." Every week there's a different story, a family that needs support. Emma, who was eating with the concentration of a surgeon, looked up. "Mommy, are you like a superhero?" "Why?" "Because you help people," Lauren laughed. "I don't think you need a cape to be a superhero." "No, you don't. You already are one." The routine of the house changed too, but subtly. Lauren no longer stayed up late doing bills on paper. Conversations were no longer interrupted by worries about money. There was a tranquility in the air that made everything seem easier. And Noah kept coming. Not every day, like before, but regularly. On Tuesdays, he always arrived with some cake or pastry he had stopped to buy on the way. On Thursdays, he helped Emma with her homework. On Saturdays, he sometimes spent the whole afternoon there, helping with small repairs around the house, or just sitting on the porch, talking with Lauren while Emma played in the small yard. There was no label for it. There was no announcement or formal definition of what he was to them or they were to him. He was simply there. Present in the silence of Saturday mornings when Lauren made coffee, and he read the newspaper at the kitchen table. Present in the routine of Tuesday dinners when Emma talked about school, and he listened to every detail as if it were the most important thing in the world. Present in the small gestures, bringing medicine when Emma had a cold, fixing the faucet that was always dripping, teaching Emma to ride a bike in the yard. One evening, Lauren was on the porch watering the plants when Noah arrived from work. It was one of those warm summer nights when the air was heavy with the smell of flowers and the promise of rain. "Is Emma asleep already?" he asked, sitting in one of the plastic chairs on the porch. "An hour ago she was tired." "And you? How was work?" Good. We implemented the extended paternity leave policy in 3 more stores today. How many fathers will benefit? About 15 just in those stores. It doesn't seem like much, but it's 15 families. That's a lot. Lauren smiled and continued watering the plants. They sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the neighborhood sounds. TVs on, children playing in the street, a dog barking in the distance. Noah, Lauren said suddenly. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For everything. For the job, for the security, for being here. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You changed our lives. Noah looked at her. Even in the dim light of the porch, he could see the sincerity on her face. You changed mine, too. For the better. For much better. Lauren put the watering can down and sat in the chair next to him. Sometimes I think about what our life was like before. Emma asking for half a sandwich, me doing bills on paper until 2 in the morning, not knowing if I'd be able to pay them. And now Emma buys a whole lunch and still shares it with her friends. Now I sleep peacefully, now, she paused. Now we have you. The sentence hung in the air on the porch. Noah felt something stir in his chest, something warm and comforting. You always had me, he finally said, from the very first day. I know, but now it's official. Official? Lauren smiled. Emma drew you in the family tree for school. Noah laughed. Really? Really? She put you next to her drawing and mine, as if you were... She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. They knew what Emma had understood even before the adults did. That family doesn't need a signed paper or an official ceremony. Sometimes family is just someone who shows up every day, who worries when you're sick, who celebrates when you're happy. Someone who is present in the silence, in the everyday, in the gesture. Can I see the drawing? Noah asked. It's on the fridge. Want to see it now? I do. They went into the quiet house and to the kitchen. On the refrigerator door, among drawings of flowers and paid utility bills, was Emma's family tree. 3 stick figures, holding hands, smiling under a big green tree, and underneath, in the careful handwriting of a 5-year-old, my family, Mommy, me, and Noah. Noah looked at the drawing for a long moment. It's right, he finally said. What is? The drawing. It's right. And it was. Because sometimes the best families are the ones that form slowly, without rush, without demands, that grow naturally like well-cared-for plants, nurtured by small gestures of affection and constant presence. Sometimes the truest family is the one that doesn't need a name to exist, and that's what matters most. Sunday afternoon was especially quiet in the Blue House. It was one of those days when time seemed to slow down, as if the whole world had decided to take a break to breathe. Emma had spent the morning playing in the yard, chasing butterflies and making up stories for her dolls. Now she was stretched out on the living room sofa, sleeping with the naturalness of children who get tired from living every moment so intensely. Noah and Lauren were sitting at the kitchen table, sharing a cup of coffee that had been cold for an hour. It didn't matter. The conversation was more important than the temperature of the drink. She's growing up so fast, Lauren said, looking at the sleeping Emma. She is... It seems like just yesterday I met her in the school cafeteria. How long has it been anyway? Noah thought for a moment. About 8 months. Maybe 9. It feels like a lifetime. For me, too. They watched Emma in silence. She was lying on her side, one hand under her face and the other hugging a teddy bear that Noah had given her for her 6th birthday. Remember the party? Lauren asked, whispering so as not to wake Emma. How could I forget? She made sure to invite the entire class. And you made sure to buy a cake for 50 people. Noah chuckled softly. She deserved a perfect party. Lauren took a sip of the cold coffee and made a face. This coffee is awful. Want me to make a fresh pot? No need. It's fine like this. In truth, Noah wasn't even paying attention to the coffee. His mind was drifting over the past few months, replaying moments that had become precious to him. What are you thinking about? Lauren asked. About how much everything has changed. For the better. Much for the better. Noah looked at her. I never imagined I would find a place where I felt so Right, Lauren smiled. Right how? Like I belong here, like my whole life before this was just preparation to get to you two. It was a big confession, and Noah knew it. But on that quiet afternoon, with Emma sleeping on the sofa, it felt natural to say it. You've always belonged here, Lauren said simply. Always. From the very first day, Emma knew. It took me a little longer to understand, but Emma knew. Noah looked again at the sleeping Emma. Her brown hair was messy, and there was a paint smudge on her t-shirt. And you? He asked. When did you know? Lauren thought for a moment. I think it was the day you taught me how to peel potatoes. Or maybe when you sat on the floor to help Emma with her drawings. It wasn't one specific moment, it was gradual. Gradual is good. It is. The best things happen slowly. They sat in silence for a few minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. Lauren, he said suddenly. Yeah. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if you'll want, if this will become something more official someday. Lauren looked at him, waiting. But I know one thing, Noah continued. I will secure Emma's future in any way I can. Always. The words came out with a seriousness that made Lauren hold her breath for a second. It wasn't a declaration of love, although love was implicit in it. It was something deeper than that. It was a commitment. Lauren held his gaze and feeling her eyes well up with tears. Noah, I know it might be too soon to talk about this. I know you have every right to want to take things slow. It's not that. Then what is it? Lauren reached her hand across the table and touched his. It's that you already do. You already secure her future. Every single day. But I want you to know that it's a conscious choice. It's not by chance, it's not charity, it's love. The word hung between them. Love. Simple as that. I know, Lauren said, and it's reciprocal. Reciprocal. Emma loves you as if you were her father. And she hesitated for a second. I love you as if you were the person I've been waiting to find my whole life. Now it was Noah who was speechless. I love you too, he said, just like that. I love you both. Emma stirred on the sofa, murmuring something unintelligible in her sleep. They both looked at her and smiled. She'll be happy when she wakes up and sees you're still here, Lauren said. I'll always be here. Always. Always. And in that moment, Lauren understood that this wasn't an empty promise. It wasn't something said in the heat of the moment or to sound nice. It was presence. Real. Chosen. Noah had chosen them. He had chosen this life, this house, this unlikely family that formed slowly, without rush, without demands. Emma woke up a few minutes later, stretching like a kitten. Noah, you're still here. I am, and I'm staying for dinner, if you'll have me. We will, Emma said, getting up from the sofa and running to hug him. And as he hugged the little girl who had changed his entire life, Noah knew he was exactly where he needed to be. The future could wait. The present was perfect. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel.